walls. They live behind walls and gates, and they have guards all over the place. Me too. Because I want to be safe, and I want to make America safe, if you don't mind.
Presidential candidate Kamala Harris pushing for marijuana legalization at the federal level.
Listen, I think that it gives a lot of people joy, and we need more joy.
No longer a time in this country where we want to make jokes about addiction.
We have a freezing rain and ice storm warning for parts of Chicago into towards Toledo. The ice is what is going to be very concerning, that could cripple travel, and that's the concern.
There are those trying to implement socialism. So I again say for the world to hear, America will never be a socialist country. Never.
Chance, wherever you are on this Tuesday morning, it's snowy or wintry on this Tuesday for you, too.
That's right. That's a big headline this morning. Also, lawmakers reaching a deal in Washington. Possibly no government shutdown on Friday.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this deal actually is and what it is not.
That's right. We start with the Fox News alert. It was announced last night that lawmakers reached, in principle, a deal to secure the border and avoid a second partial government shutdown.
That's right. So now the clock is ticking for lawmakers to hammer out the details of this deal before Friday night's deadline.
All right, Griff Jenkins has been working on it, trying to get details on it, and he is live in Washington. Hey, Griff.
Hey guys, look, in principle does not mean done deal, but this could possibly give a way for both sides to claim some victory. Let's take a look. For the White House, it has $1.375 billion for 55 new miles of border barrier. Democrats are not calling it a wall. All of it will be in the Rio Grande Valley sector. And the Border Patrol can use any currently deployed design they want to build it. Now, for Democrats, a 17% decrease in ICE detention beds, reducing the number from 49,000 currently down to just over 40,000. But there could be some wiggle room here because DHS funding elsewhere could give them additional beds in the event of a surge on the border. The big question now is whether or not the president will sign this.
Well, I can tell you that a lot of things have changed, and we'll see what happens. I can't go into the exact deal. I just heard it very quickly.
Now, let me give you some perspective. The RGV sector has 316 river border miles total. It has 55 miles of existing wall. All of it is on the east side of the sector. There is no wall on the west side. Right now, in fiscal year 2019 so far, over 90% of the apprehensions are occurring on the west side. And those apprehensions are almost twice what they were this time last year, with more than 77,000 as of Sunday night compared to 38,000 in fiscal year 18. So those officials are telling me this morning, because I said, what do you think of the deal? They said, well, we could use 55 more miles on that west side. Guys?
The more, the better for the president. All right, Griff, thank you very much. So the White House needs to review it. Apparently, Nita Lowey, who is the House Appropriations Committee chairwoman, ran the deal past Nancy Pelosi last night, and Nancy Pelosi was okay with it. But then again, why wouldn't she be? Because she does not really cave to the president. You know, he wanted more miles. She's not going to give it to him. So for her, it's a win. And again, for the president, it's a win because it is more miles of fence.
But another thing is, she said, yeah, I'll give you 1.3, but not $1 for the wall, the fence, the barrier.
Well, whatever you
Remember,
call it.
barriers are immoral. Now, at least the money can go directly to whatever the president wants it to, and I'm sure it'll be the bollard fence in most cases, and the other fence when needed. And the thing is, if it takes 2017, we get 1.6, I think, billion. It took till 2018, here we are in 2019, to actually start building the wall this week. So the president's not going to be slowed down by the extra 50 miles because he needs that time to build. Next thing you know, 7 months will go by. September 30th will happen. He'll get allocated more money.
Isn't this negotiation? I mean, Nancy Pelosi said not $1, and now we're saying $1.4 billion. It's not what the president wanted. It's not even nearly close to what the president wanted, but at least it's something. And he wanted the 215 miles, and this is going to allow for 55 miles. But it is negotiation time, and this will fund the government through September, and then maybe they'll give him more at that point.
Right, that 25% of the government that was not funded through next September. But you got to wonder what the president has got up his sleeve, because while it does only provide a certain number of miles, it does sound like the president, when he said this, has a plan B or a plan C.
We're building the wall anyway. Illegal immigration hurts all Americans, including millions of legal immigrants, by driving down wages, draining public resources, and claiming countless innocent lives. The biggest proponents of open borders are rich liberals and wealthy donors. These are hypocrites who oppose security for you while living their entire lives. I do too, to be honest with you. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I also live behind walls, okay? They live behind walls and gates, and they have guards all over the place. Me too, because I want to be safe, and I want to make America safe, if you don't mind. So security should not belong only to the rich and to the powerful. Safety is the birthright of every American, which is why we must finish the wall. It's happening.
The president said we're going to build the wall anyway, and his chief of staff was interviewed a few days ago and said he'll take this money, he'll take a little bit money here, a little bit more here, he'll find a way to fund the wall.
We've been watching a lot for the Democratic candidates and saying what they want to do with the country. So is the president. He's got a theme and ready to build a theme. Number one, finish the wall. Number two, late-term abortion, not okay with him. And so there is the Green Plan, and he had a good deal. He had a good thing. He really took that on big time. He also took on socialism, the new trend among many Democratic candidates.
There are those trying to implement socialism right here in the United States. So I again say to you, and I say it for the world to hear, America will never be a socialist country. Never. Never. We're born free, we will live free, and we will die free. We will always be free.
So there he was last night in El Paso at the El Paso County Coliseum. And he's repeating the line from a week earlier.
Doubling down.
At the State of the Union. Mm-hmm. And remember where, you could see how half the hall at the State of the Union applauded and then the other half just sat on their hands. Well, in that hall last night, everybody was like, that's right, we'll never be socialists. Even though there are a number of people who are on the political left who are talking about that.
The socialists were half a mile down the road at the Beto O'Rourke rally, probably.
Yeah, that's why Howard Schultz is so determined to run away. Mayor Bloomberg might have a shot because they can't believe how far left the Democratic Party, which they belong to, has gone.
All right, so Chris Pratt defending himself, defending his church after Ellen Page, who's that actress, remember her from the movie Juno, there's her picture. She said she put out a tweet.
Right, he was on with Stephen Colbert.
Right, talking about his church and his faith, and she put out a tweet saying, if you're a famous actor and you belong to an organization that hates a certain group of people, don't be surprised if someone simply wonders why it's not addressed. Being anti-LGBTQ is wrong. There aren't two sides. The damage it causes is severe. Full stop. Sending love to all.
Okay, so this was the tweet, but his church is infamously anti-LGBTQ, so maybe address that too? Well, he did address his church on Instagram and said this. It has recently been suggested that I belong to a church which hates a certain group of people and is infamously anti-LGBTQ. Nothing could be further from the truth. I go to a church that opens their doors to absolutely everyone. My faith is important to me, but no church defines me or my life. My values define who I am. We need less hate in this world, not more. Chris Pratt, Instagram. There he is right there. All right, his values define who he is.
All right. The name of his church is the Zoe Church, Z-O-E. Is it Zoe or Zoe? And he is saying, he's been very outspoken about his faith, and that's why so many people love him, because when he's at the award shows, he gives credit to God, and he just seems to be a remarkable man. He just got engaged to Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter, and his faith is important.
All right. So that's
Let us know
very
what you think about it.
Absolutely. All right. 8:10 now here in New York City, and Jillian joins us with Fox News Alert.
That's right. Some news out of Florida. So let's get you caught up, starting with this Fox News Alert right now. 3 U.S. Army soldiers are rushed to the hospital after an apparent parachuting accident in Florida. Crews were called to the Homestead Air Reserve Base. A spokesman says the soldiers were hurt during airborne operations early this morning. It is unclear how serious their injuries are. This base is the winter home of the Army's parachute team, the Golden Knights. Today, one of the women accusing Virginia's lieutenant governor of sexual assault will speak out publicly. Dr. Vanessa Tyson will be part of a panel titled Betrayal and Courage in the Age of Me Too at Stanford University tonight. This happening as several members of Justin Fairfax's staff resign over the allegations against him. Fairfax has denied the allegations and called for an FBI investigation into them. Now, another Fox News alert. Just moments ago, retired astronaut Mark Kelly announcing he's running for Senate in Arizona, the seat once held by John McCain. Kelly, the husband of former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, has been a vocal advocate for gun control since Giffords was shot at an event with constituents in 2011. 6 people were killed. Kelly flew his first mission with NASA in 2001. Tonight, one lucky pooch will be declared top dog at the Westminster Dog Show. The competition is heating up in New York City with some family drama. Bourbon, the Whippet, chasing her brother Whiskey out of the competition. Well, she was later beaten in the Hound group and eliminated. Guess that means karma came back to bite her.
So,
Bourbon and Whiskey are their
Bourbon and Whiskey
names.
are brother and sister. Look at that. All right.
That was my attempt at a funny.
That was good, Jillian.
All right. Meanwhile, Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar apologizing this morning for her anti-Semitic comments, but one of her colleagues not buying it. Congressman Lee Zeldin, a Republican from New York, says she needs to be punished. You'll hear him live next.
Plus, talking about deflating, one town just banned both.
Free story every 15 minutes. Fox News Headlines 24/7, Channel 115.
A freshman Democrat in Congress forced to apologize after members of both parties accused her of anti-Semitism for tweeting, "It's all about the Benjamins, baby," suggesting lawmakers are being bribed to support the country of Israel. It's not the first time Ilhan Omar has made anti-Israeli remarks, and fellow Congress members, including our next guest, are calling to kick her off the Foreign Affairs Committee. Republican Congressman from New York, Lee Zeldin, joins us from D.C. Lee, good morning to you.
Good morning.
You say there's a double standard. Why?
Yeah, just last month you had House Democrats tripping all over each other, running to the floor of the House of Representatives to condemn white supremacy in a resolution that named Congressman Steve King. He apologized. He was still thrown off of his committee assignments. Now we have those same members, many of them tripping all over each other, running away from the House floor so they don't have to condemn anti-Semitism. And they are accepting an apology via Twitter that unfortunately is not the end of it. This also isn't the first time. The apology itself states that it's an unequivocal apology, but it's filled with equivocation. And as you just played that tweet that said all about the Benjamin's baby and how Congresswoman Omar was tweeting at me last week that said thank you next from Ariana Grande. Her apology comes across as, sorry not sorry from Demi Lovato. I don't take it as a real sincere apology. And when she was asked about it last night on video, you see a lack of empathy and true understanding.
Well, what do you make of Nancy Pelosi's response?
Well, I think it's good that she spoke out yesterday. I think it was great over the course of 24 hours from Sunday evening that you had a lot of people breaking their silence, speaking out about this anti-Semitic trope. It is infiltrating, it's anti-Semitic, and there's anti-Israel hate that's infiltrating American politics. We're seeing it on college campuses. It's infiltrating the halls of Congress. You can't empower that. You can't elevate it. You have to confront it, and you have to crush it, or it will just continue to grow legs. We'll see it more and more like a cancer across our country. So I'm hearing from 18, 19, 20-year-olds on college campuses who have multiple stories, Jewish students of confronting anti-Semitism. I think it's good to speak up, but there's more that needs to get done in this case.
What do you mean it's infiltrating the halls of Congress? That's disturbing.
Yeah, well, we're seeing so in 2008, 2012, 2016, the Democratic National Convention, there was a move to put in anti-Israel, pro-BDS language and more that fortunately didn't make its way in. Right. You're going to see that exposed again in 2020, but right now with new freshman members that are elected to Congress and some of their positions and statements, as well as associations of other members of Congress with people like Louis Farrakhan, Tamika Mallory, Linda Sarsour. Right. Those associations are problematic as well.
You're not going to drop this, are you?
No, I shouldn't. I'm hearing from people from not just my district, from all across the country who are outraged by the growing amount of anti-Semitism here in our country and around the world. They want to confront it, and they're not going to just turn a blind eye, put their head under the sand and be ignorant and naive to what the reality is, understanding that this isn't just a one-time offense. This has happened over the course of several years with this member, and when she was asked about the reaction to her positions and statements last week, she called it exciting. So if she's going to be out there and with a position that is encouraging a very negative atmosphere that innocent American Jews and others are going to confront, well then I'm not going to be silent about it. I'm going to confront it.
All right, well, you're doing that this morning on this program. Lee Zeldin, Congressman from New York. Lee, thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. So what do you think about that? Email us, friends@foxnews.com. Meanwhile, straight ahead, one grocery store chain is putting out a message in its weekly flyer. It says right there over the black bar, heaven has a wall, a gate, and a strict immigration policy. Hell has open borders. Let that sink in. The store owner is going to join us to explain why he's supporting President Trump and what that message had to do with President Trump. Plus, he won Defensive Rookie of the Year, but this young football star just made a big play off the field for his mom.
We are back with some quick headlines. Letting go of balloons could cost you $1,000 and up to 15 days in jail. The town board in East Hampton, New York, unanimously voting to ban the intentional release of balloons. Supporters say that they litter communities and they kill the wildlife.
It's going to get Alec Baldwin mad.
Georgia is the latest state to consider taxing streaming services like Netflix. Under a new proposal, users would have to pay 4% sales tax. The revenue would be used to subsidize internet lines in rural areas. At least 4 states already have the so-called Netflix tax.
Look at that. Meanwhile, a southern grocery store chain facing backlash for including this message at the top of its weekly ad. It says, notice about that bar right there, heaven has a wall, a gate, and a strict immigration policy. Hell has open borders. Let that sink in.
And while religious messages are nothing new to the store's weekly flyers, dozens of people are saying this is just too political.
The owner of Max Cash Saver Grocery Store is standing by the message. Reggie McDaniel joins us now. Good morning, Mr. McDaniel. Why was it important for you to put that message out?
Good morning.
Why'd you put that message out, Reggie?
Yes, sir. What the message I was making, I knew that the border deal was hot, but I've been looking at this message on Facebook for 6 months. And I saw it on there, and I just posted it up there. I wanted people to realize that heaven has walls and borders, and we have to get in that gate. And the only way we get in that gate is through Jesus Christ himself. And maybe I should have included in that John 3:16, so they'd realize how you get in that gate. Most people are not familiar with Revelations in chapter 22, where it talks about walls and borders. Right. And the open borders represents any lost person that wants to be, that don't want to. They can do all the sin and do it as much as they want to. But God has a place for us to go, and he has a salvation for us. And that's what I was trying to do. I had no idea it would be this big, but the bigger it got, the more the message is going to get out there.
What's the
I'm proud we done it, and I'm really proud of it. And I stand by my message that Jesus Christ is our Savior, and we need him to get in that gate. Everybody's not going to heaven, and it seems like it makes people mad when you tell them that, but they got to have Jesus to get in, the blood of him.
What's the response been?
Sir?
What's the reaction when you put the ad out? People giving you a thumbs up, thumbs down?
The first few reactions was really negative. Then we went on a news station and I gave them a statement for about 15 minutes. I talked to them and they played that, and it's been probably 90% positive. Now we'll have one of those people latch on to us from somewhere from out of the country or somewhere way away that they talk so filthy and so pitiful. I don't even know why Facebook lets it stay up there. And that's what amazes me is what the filthy talk of the people that latches on to us and the people that does that. All we try and do is give a simple message that Jesus loves you, and it did get out there. It accomplished what we wanted to, and I'm proud of that because I stand for Jesus. Yes, sir.
One person said this is disgusting, and they're vowing no longer to shop in your grocery stores. What do you say to those folks?
I don't have anybody that's personally told me they wouldn't shop with me. I saw a few things online. I don't read all that negative stuff. I really focus on the positive and focus on taking care of our customers. I have churches all over this community has texted me and called me this morning at 5 o'clock on praying for us to do this and praying to stand firm in what we do. And every one of my customers I've faced has told me the same thing. Stand firm, we stand with you. And that's all I need. As long as I'm in God's will, I'm happy. The grocery business will be fine. It's always been. We've been doing this since the 50s. Right. It's the way I make a living. God will feed me like this as long as He wants to. And the grocery business will be fine. My customers will stand by me, and I believe that. They know who I am, and they know what I stand for.
All right. Reggie McDaniel, owner of Max Cash Saver Grocery Store in Shreveport, Louisiana. Doubling down. Happy you put it out there. And I saw from the circular your ground beef is $1.99 a pound. Thank you, sir, for joining us live.
Thanks, Mr. McDaniel.
Thank y'all.
All right.
Was it sirloin or chuck?
I think it was 90% ground beef.
Okay,
I
good.
love the circulars.
I'm one of the few people with. I've made chopped meat before. I'll talk about that in a break. Yeah, I worked in a meat store.
Should put that in your next cookbook, Steve.
I will indeed.
One driver taking road rage to a new level, trying to run over people because they threw snowballs at her car. The shocking moment on camera. You're seeing some of it.
Plus, Todd is having breakfast with our friends down in El Paso after President Trump and Beto O'Rourke's dueling rallies. Hey, Todd.
Hey guys, we're of course talking about those rallies, but it's also about the food. If you've watched this morning, I've had a taco, unclear if it was with Brian's own chopped meat. I've also had fried chicken, and now let's wash it down with some pie. More Fox News.
Well, Captain Forrest Gump. I had to see this for myself. And I told you if you were ever a shrimp boat captain, that I'd be your first mate. Well, here I am. I am a man of my word.
Okay.
Yeah, but don't you be thinking that I'm going to be calling you sir.
No, sir.
And there goes the operation.
The iconic role of Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump ended up changing millions of lives, especially the man who played him.
In 1994, Gary Sinise was honored by the DAV, the Disabled American Veterans Organization, for playing that role that brought, quote, the sacrifice of disabled Americans back into the public. The key word there is back. It was a moment that inspired him to dedicate his life to honoring our hero.
And that's how his book begins. That story and more are in his brand new memoir, Grateful American, A Journey from Self to Service. It's out today. Always love when Gary's here, especially this book, which I had a chance to read. It is fantastic.
It is good.
Great to see you, Gary.
Gary, great to see you.
Thank you.
Why was that important, you think, for us to roll in that clip to start? What changed for you that day as Forrest Gump was received?
What, playing the part?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a big moment, certainly. I mean, that was early in my film career. I hadn't done that much. A couple of movies I did, Mice and Men as a film.
Right.
And I think the producers and directors saw that film. They invited me to come and audition. I read the script. Vietnam veterans in my family, so I very much wanted to play the Vietnam veteran. I got the chance to do it, and that introduced me to the DAV. I started working with our wounded at that point.
But it really gave hope to veterans who had gone through this, who suffered from PTSD, who had lost limbs, and you were an alcoholic in the movie, and then your life changed completely, and it gave hope to a lot of veterans, right?
I think, you know, up until that point, there had been a certain number of Vietnam-themed films, but you always felt that the Vietnam veteran might not be okay at the end of the movie. That was the first time we saw the story of a Vietnam veteran, and he's okay in the end. He's moving on with his life. He's clean cut. He's successful in business. He's standing up on new legs. He's married. He's moving on with his life, and that's a positive story that we want for all our returning veterans.
Absolutely. Before, you know, you got the accolades for this particular role, was it just another job, hey, look, I got another role, or was it different than the others?
No, you mean when I went into it?
Yeah, was it just, okay, I got this role, it's opposite Tom Hanks, it's going to be a big movie?
I wanted the part very much. I have Vietnam veterans in my family, so I wanted to play this part very much. And yeah, in honor of the Vietnam veterans I know and the family members, that, and I write about that in the book, how important that moment was and what it did to not only change my career, but to turn my life into a life of
Did you know it
service.
would be that big, though?
No.
25 years this year. The name of the book is Grateful America, and that's how you feel. That's the theme throughout the book. You just give nonstop in between projects and CSI and the series. All you do is you just give back through the Lieutenant Dan Band. And even I saw you the other night. I was honored to be asked to interview you for the launch of your book on Sunday to benefit the firefighters, Friends of Firefighters the other night. So you packed that place because you give back to firefighters as well.
Yeah, I can truly say the 80s planted some real seeds in terms of support of Vietnam veterans. The 90s, I started working with our wounded. Then after September 11th, I just needed to do something positive. And so I jumped in full force to try to help the men and women who were deploying in reaction to that terrible day. And the firefighters who were here on September 11th and just started supporting many different organizations, and it all accumulated into the Gary Sinise Foundation. That's why I wrote
Gary,
the book.
tell us about your childhood, your high school career, what happened there, and then how you got into acting.
Did you read a little bit
Yes.
of the book? So there's some misbehavior in the book as a young man. You know, I didn't know what the book was going to be called.
There you go.
When I said, oh yeah, there we are. That's a little family shot there. I didn't know what the book was going to be called when I started writing it, but as I was going through it, these recurring themes of gratitude and appreciation, and this kind of journey from this self-focused acting career life early on that I began in high school, the troubles that I had in high school as a young man and overcoming those things, and then moving into a life of service, it really became clear to me what the story was about.
The other thing is the impact of a teacher. This drama teacher that saw something in you, you were dressed like a hoodlum, and they were casting West Side Story. You said you had no direction. He says, why don't you come down and audition? Something told you to audition. It changed your life.
No, completely, and it began something that I ended up doing for a living and having a good living at. I was standing in a hallway with the rock band members. I played in a rock band, and we were pretty scruffy, and she walked down the hall. She looked at us and she said, "You look like gang members. Come and audition for West Side Story." And so I went and auditioned just on a whim, and I got in the play, and it turned everything around. I was a struggling
Have you
kid.
talked to that teacher since?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to see her in about a week.
Oh, that's great.
That's really cool.
So as your friends went off to college, you had to go to another semester of high school. And she got you to another play. And instead of sitting back and letting things happen, you start your own theater company. Steppenwolf is one of the most lauded, respected theater companies in the country, and it started in a church basement by a guy that didn't need an extra semester to get out of high school.
Well, yeah, and it was a group of kids. We just wanted to continue doing plays. I was having a great time in high school doing plays. I did have to go back for an extra semester because I didn't have enough credits to graduate, but I did a great play, Cyrano de Bergerac, and I got to play Cyrano, and it was a great, it made going back to high school worth it because I got to play a great part. And then right after high school, 18 years old, started the Steppenwolf Theater with my pals, and it grew into a theater that's now 45 years old.
And a lot of famous people that we interview, they don't want to be known as a role that they played 25 years ago, but you've embraced it. You even have the Lieutenant Dan Band.
Well, it's because of
Catapulted your career in your life.
yeah. It's not only that, but it's the relationship that I found that character was having with our wounded when I started visiting the hospitals after September 11th and visiting, you know, very, very badly wounded service members. And I'd walk in the room, they wouldn't know what my real name was, but they recognized me from the movie, and they wanted to talk about Lieutenant Dan and all of that. And you know, when I started visiting the war zones, they did the same thing. They called me Lieutenant Dan all the time, so I started a band and named it after the character.
Wow, and it's fantastic. You've raised, Gary Sinise Foundation has raised how much?
Well, we've raised a lot of money over the last 8 years. We continue to provide a lot of services, and we always need support.
Very humble.
Hundreds of millions.
The book is out today. It's called Grateful American. Gary Sinise, thank you very much.
You have a life purpose, and you're living it.
Thanks for having me.
And a great American story.
Thank you.
Pick up this book. It's an awesome book. We've read it.
I'll talk to you on radio later.
All right, the winter storm wreaking havoc across the Midwest, closing in on the Northeast.
Okay, the snowy mess causing massive pileups across that right there. You're looking at Wisconsin. Trouble there.
Janice Dean's been studying this and tracking this dangerous system closely. Where are we at, Janice?
Well, we're going to see snow in the New York City area real quick. Let's take a look at the maps, and I will show you where the storm is. We've got freezing rain happening in Philadelphia, rain and snow in Pittsburgh, and then it's cloudy here in New York, but the snow is closing in. I don't want you to focus on the snow totals, because this is going to be a potentially devastating ice storm in some areas. Chicago is under ice storm warning, Toledo as well, and we're going to see ice across big areas of the Northeast, including New York City, including Long Island, including Connecticut, up towards Boston. So even though we're not going to be dealing with a blockbuster snowstorm, the ice where you see pink on the map, that is the potentially bad area where we could see, you know, crippling travel basically across those regions. So that's what I want to make sure people know. Even though we have winter weather advisories and we associate that with snow, this is going to be a potential ice event, and that's why they're closing schools. Real quick, what are your names? Where are you from?
Lisa Stone, Nacogdoches, Texas.
Terry Stone.
And you're dressed appropriately for a nice storm. All right, thank you for coming, my friends. Thank you for watching Fox and Friends. Back inside.
That's right. All right, very good. It's coming. All right.
Thanks, Janice. All right, the singer made a splash on the Grammys red carpet with his pro-Trump jacket, and he's not apologizing for it. His name is Ricky Rebel, and he's going to join us live.
And what are voters in El Paso saying about President Trump and Beto O'Rourke's dueling rallies? Todd Pyro was there and is there. Breakfast with Friends.
Individual who spoke to you today said the wall is a bad idea. Do you agree?
I agree. It makes us less, not more safe. El Paso's been one of the safest cities in the United States of America for 20 years and counting. Safe before a wall, safe after a wall. And in fact, after the wall was built here in 2008, safety actually decreased, not increased. We don't need walls. We need to treat one another with respect and dignity.
You can see our Todd Pyro in that crowd talking to Beto O'Rourke. There were dueling rallies down in El Paso yesterday. President Trump speaking in front of thousands of supporters, a far cry from the anti-wall march that was led by Beto O'Rourke nearby, where about half of that amount, they're saying, rallied to support sanctuary cities and oppose the wall.
Todd Pyro is there. He joins us live from Elmer's Family Restaurant in El Paso, Texas, where he's talking to the folks the day after the two shows. Hey, Todd.
Hey guys, one of the great things about El Paso and specifically Elmer's Family Restaurant is the diversity of opinion, and it doesn't just include opinions, it includes diversity of food. In the 6 o'clock hour, I had Latino food, now chicken and waffles. How cool is that? And speaking of diversity of opinion, we have Laura. She's a waitress here at Elmer's, and you love the way Beto O'Rourke has done amazing things here in this community. Why do you say that?
Well, we believe he has a more accurate representation of what the borderland is, and we believe he can speak truth to us and Congress and government.
Understood. All right, Rob. Rob, you say you are sick and tired of all the bitterness that's going on in the world. Why do you say that?
Yes, I think that we should do like El Pasoans around the world and become one, work together, use all this bipartisan efforts and get something done together. Quit hating on each other.
All right. Thank you, guys, and thank you for helping us out today. This food is really awesome. We're having a great time. Let's talk to Tina.